The president still says, though, that the report is a total exoneration. But the experts say not so fast, because the actual report paints a very different picture on the issue of obstruction of justice. Mueller does not draw a conclusion on that, though the Attorney General did clear the president of criminal wrongdoing. The report says this: while this report does not conclude that the president committed a crime, it also does not exonerate him. The president told a White House event yesterday that he's been vindicated.
I'm having a good day, too. It was called No Collusion, No Obstruction. There never was, by the way, and there never will be.
The president faces no criminal charges, but the Mueller report opens the door for Congress to take action. The Mueller report says, quote, Congress can permissibly criminalize certain obstructive conduct by the president because those prohibitions raise no separation of powers questions.
With us now is Democratic Congressman Jerrold Nadler of New York. He is chairman of the House Judiciary Committee. Chairman Nadler, good morning. Welcome. Thanks for being here.
Good morning.
As you read this report, do you see obstruction of justice?
I see considerable evidence of obstruction of justice, which is what Mueller said. Mueller said there was considerable evidence of obstruction of justice. The report concluded there was substantial evidence that President Trump attempted to prevent an investigation into his campaign and his own conduct. Cites 11 instances. He doesn't make the charge essentially because Justice Department guidelines, he believes, prevented him from doing so. But he lays it out for Congress, and he practically invites Congress to pursue that. So yes,
well, how do you intend to? Have you issued a subpoena to get the full report?
We will in about an hour. Yes, we're going to issue the subpoena this morning. Barr seems to have acted over the last 4 weeks, including yesterday, not as the Attorney General of the United States, but as the president's personal attorney.
What disturbed you most yesterday?
Well, he lied about what was in the report. He misrepresented it.
Wait,
Morning, everybody.
Well, for instance, he said 4 times no collusion. The report specifically says that collusion is not a legal term. It showed any number of instances which you mentioned of cooperation between the campaign and the Russians. That's what's commonly conceived of as collusion. But they couldn't charge criminal conspiracy. They didn't have enough evidence to charge criminal conspiracy, not collusion. And one of the reasons it says they didn't have enough evidence to charge criminal conspiracy was that people in the campaign, various people, destroyed evidence, lied, committed perjury, lied. On obstruction of justice, they didn't clear the president. They specifically said that an FBI, if we had confidence after a thorough investigation of the facts that he did not commit obstruction of justice, we would say so, based on the facts. And however, we are unable to reach that judgment. And they invited Congress specifically to pursue that. Barr took it upon himself to announce that he decided to clear the president. It's not up to him.
But the Republicans now say, listen, the report is out, it's time to move on. Why do you feel it's not time to move on?
Because the report is very damning. It paints a picture of a president who lies all the time, lies to his staff members, demands that his staff members lie, who tried to obstruct justice, was prevented from doing so in several cases by the refusal of his own staff members to violate the law, even though he told them to. It paints a picture of a campaign that was in bed that was completely in bed with the Russians.
Then why didn't Mueller come to a different conclusion if what you're laying out is true?
That's what I'm saying is exactly the conclusions he came to. He said he couldn't find enough evidence to prove beyond a reasonable doubt criminal conspiracy, partly because people lied and refused to testify. The president, Barr says that the president, one of the evidence that why the president didn't obstruct investigation is because he cooperated totally. He didn't cooperate totally. He refused to testify. He refused to answer questions about obstruction of justice at all. And most of the questions about the Russians, he didn't remember. So the bottom line is, we have to hear from Barr, that is the Judiciary Committee has to hear from Barr, which we'll do on May 2nd, and from Mueller.
Has Mueller answered your subpoena?
We haven't issued him a subpoena. We're inviting him.
I mean, he answered the invitation?
No, we'll probably extend the invitation today or tomorrow.
Okay.
We need the whole report. We need the whole report including the underlying documents, unredacted, as has been the case in every previous situation similar to this, where Congress got it all. The American people need the whole report minus some redactions, which Congress should decide on, and we will subpoena that report
Mr.
today.
Chairman, where are we headed with all this? The political remedy is impeachment. Is that where we're headed?
I don't know where we're headed. We are headed to find out a lot more, to hold proper hearings, to educate ourselves and the American people, and we'll see where the evidence leads.
You make a very strong claim about the Attorney General, saying he's basically behaving like the president's lawyer and not the Attorney General. That seems like grounds, but that seems like grounds for some kind of action from you as well. I mean, you're basically saying he's doing the opposite of his job.
Yeah, but it's not up to... yes, I think he's not doing his job properly, or I think it seems he's not doing his job. He's acting as the president's personal attorney. It certainly seems that way, but we will invite him, we have invited him to testify, and let him justify his actions before the committee on May 2nd.
Well, you're one of the congressmen who will get the opportunity to read the less redacted version of the report. When do you intend to do that?
No. We've been invited, I've been invited to read the less redacted version of the report on condition that we take no notes and tell nobody about what we read. What's the point of that? Congress is a collective body, and if I read something and I can't tell the other committee members about it or the other members of Congress, it's useless. That's frankly, it's insulting to Congress. That offer is insulting to Congress. We will work to have an accommodation with the Attorney General, but in terms of seeing the rest of the report and the underlying documents. But it cannot be under such restrictions that we cannot function.
Let me ask you a quick
and that's why
question,
we need the subpoena.
Your colleague Adam Schiff says about impeachment, you don't bring a case if you don't think you're going to be successful just to try the case. Do you believe with that general principle?
Not necessarily. As a general rule, that's certainly prudent action, but I could imagine a situation in which to vindicate the rule of law and protect the Constitution, you have to bring a case, even if it's not going to ultimately be successful. But
that's a lot to take the country through.
Yes.
Yes, but I'm not advocating that. God, I'm certainly not advocating that. But I can imagine a situation in which that may be a necessity to vindicate the rule of law and to protect our democratic process.
All right,
now,
Chairman Nadler.
But as a general, I've laid out a three-part test for impeachment.
Yep,
repeatedly.
and you've had the last word.
And I'm going to say this.
Okay.
Two of them are really from I think established in the record. You don't impeach somebody. You don't bring an impeachment procedure unless, one, you think you can prove that the president's committed impeachable offenses. Two, they're serious impeachable offenses, not just And three, and this is a more prudential thing, I don't think you should bring an impeachment proceeding unless you believe at the beginning of that proceeding, when you're starting, that you have such strong evidence of such terrible deeds that once that is laid out to the American people, an appreciable fraction of the people who supported the president will agree reluctantly you had to do that. Because otherwise you get a situation where the country's divided for the next 30 years.
The computer's going to cut you off, so I'm going to go, because we don't want to...
We won the election, you stole it.
Thank you, Chairman Nadler, for coming. We appreciate it. It's 8:12. We got to go. Time to check your local weather.